Okay, if we could stand and cite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everyone should have an agenda in front of them. We have a quorum present. Do we have a motion to, well, there's one little amendment to the agenda. Under contracts, we're going to add a number 18 and Aaron McCullough as the student council sponsor. So if you make a motion, just make sure we add that.
I'll move to approve the agenda with the amendment added to it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Chris, seconded by Nick to approve the agenda with the edit. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And you should also have a consent agenda, which consists of the minutes, the invoices, and the financial reports. And hopefully you've had some time to look at those. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion made by Nick, seconded by Mike to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we will start off with what's going well. And looks like we have Tracy first.
Good evening. I wanted to start off by letting you know that the upstairs furniture has arrived and is in classrooms. I want to thank the custodial staff, the transportation department, the teachers and their spouses, the secretarial staff, and the football players for all coming and helping us take the old furniture out. That's such a big part of my pack. It's so great. People step up and help whenever it's needed. It was a major undertaking and we got it done really quickly in the heat last night. So thank you to all those who helped. I also want to thank everyone who helped out with the amazing community race. We love partnering with the businesses and hope to do so in the future. Staff had so much fun and we're learning at the same time, with lots of positive feedback from that. We're excited about that. And then finally, I wanted to mention that we had a great turnout on our back to school conference night. So much fun getting to see the students back in the building because it's been a while. And so I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow on their first day of school.
Thank you, Tracy. Looks like a lot of furniture parked there to get rid of, so.
Yes.
Thanks for your work.
Good evening. The middle school, high school began our classes today with a full building of kiddos. And last night we held open house and we had an awesome attendance. There were hundreds of people in this building at once. It was fantastic. People were excited to come find their lockers, meet the teachers, tour the buildings. Some of the newer teachers' classrooms were the busiest, I would say, which was kind of fun to see. So it was great to have everybody back. Our middle school team has worked to tighten up our cell phone policy, and that went really well today. We shared the memo regarding the expectations with families a couple days ago via email, and we worked to be very clear with students as to what's expected. The cell phones are to be in their lockers during class time. The kids may check them between classes, at lunch, and in regular study hall. And so far, today's only day one, but I do feel like it has helped limit distractions. And I think the behaviors associated with cell phone and social media use hopefully will be limited as well. I especially want to just shout out to the teachers and the staff because they're very diligent in enforcing this policy and teaching it to the students. And also I want to thank families at home who are working on doing the same. So, do you have any questions for me?
I don't. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea.
Joe, do you have anything to share?
I'd just like to
express appreciation for the hard work that both principals did in terms of preparing, planning, coordinating, and organizing this first community amazing race. I know there was a lot of hours put in behind the scenes to make this work. It's not like they just opened a book and said, here's the blueprint, right? They literally created it from the ground up. And the feedback that we have received so far has been extremely positive, both from community, from staff. It was just a good team building activity, and it was kind of fun to see the staff have some fun with it, to the point where they were literally racing out of this building in order to do that competition. And I felt kind of bad for the last team to come in because they knew they were the last team coming in, but they still did it with packed pride and in a good attitude. So it was really fun and nice to see.
Very good. Good to hear. So we're going to move on with business. And first item is to discuss / approve Genesis contract for the
Public
2023.
communication with the board first of all.
Oh, sorry. I checked it out. I'm sorry. That was not my intention. So public communication with the board. We have Cindy Lutz. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry about that.
That's okay, Paul, I'm not gonna speak for very long. I personally want to just thank you and Mr. Superintendent Kramer and Tony for coming down last night and meeting with Kathy Charleston, Dan DeBoer, and myself about the Palmer School building. Each of us went away with some things that we had to do on each side for this group and for our group in Palmer. So I hope we can move forward and have good communication and cooperation. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate you coming down and talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And we have Amanda Miller to speak to us about communication.
Good evening to the board. Sorry. Good evening to the board, the community, and administration. Thank you. I just want to be short and quick and simple. I feel like sometimes we're lagging in communication. So in the buses, where the buses go and what time we pick them up and what time the bus picks them up and what bus number or animal they have. I just feel like the elementary parents have nothing. We have like no idea. So I don't want to depend on, the previous bus driver. It's just not every bus driver, but I feel like the parents need to have some contact as to what's going on. So we need to do better with that kind of communication. So we have the proper time and we need to know it ahead of time. So right now, I didn't see anything in the newspaper or anything. So in previous years, we've normally seen something. So I would just like to have improved communication with regards to that, please.
Okay, thank you. That's it for communication with the board, correct, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to move on to business, and the first item under business is to discuss / approve Genesis contract for the 2023-24 school year.
Page 14 of your packets. This is a renewal. We've been working with Genesis for a number of years. They help us with our EBCE program. This is specialized programming for some of our special needs students to get them out into the community with work-related, work-based type activities. It's been very successful for us in terms of getting students out, and it allows us to do things that we don't necessarily have the staffing to be able to accomplish. So this is a renewal type situation. Annual fee for this you'll find on page 15 of your packets is $18,415.32 for this year.
This comes out of general fund or
Say that again, Mike.
What fund does this come out of?
This would be a general fund, because this is educational programming, just like any other instructor program that we offer. Now, I should phrase that carefully here. It starts there, generally speaking, all right, but it is coded to special education because this is the group that is being served.
Is there any changes in the agreement from the previous one?
I did not compare the dollar fee. I'm gonna guess the dollar sign went up slightly because everything else has seen an increase.
Why is it Genesis, contract doesn't match the cost of work? Is there a name change there or something?
He's asking if there's been a name change in Genesis.
It's Genesis now, but it used to be after something else, like, but that's when I can't remember how it was, but they changed.
Any other questions on it? Or do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
One question.
Sure.
Is page 16, the Imagine Learning, book, does that tie into this? I didn't see that next on the agenda.
No, that's totally
something
different.
Totally.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Mike, seconded by Jolene to approve the Imagine the Possibilities Genesis contract for this school year. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And the next item is to discuss / approve handbooks for employees, which will be on page,
It's actually inside your 3-ring finder. It should be one of the subsections. The differences between this year and last year, as far as your employee, is we've updated some names because we've had some staff changes. The other difference here that you'll find as you go through this, besides names and potentially dates, is the fact that we moved additional language this year from the teacher's master contract over to the employee handbook. So those have been put in as additions into this. Other than that, there were not additional changes to what's been in the employee handbook for the last several years. It was just a matter of moving some of that other language over. So what I did was basically 2 files open simultaneously on 2 separate monitors and went through the existing as well as last year's master contract, identified the language that has been removed. If it was dealing with a service or with a contractual language piece, then that was moved over. A lot of that language was already included in the employee handbook because traditionally we've used the exact same language for all the additional staff. So while we had a teacher contract, we were applying those same components to all of the classified and support staff administration as well. The areas where they didn't appear, then those were added and moved over.
at the very bottom of each page, it says like
Yeah,
19 of 20.
It does, and I'm not sure why of 2. I've got to go back through and figure out why that formatting got weird on me.
And then on page 19, there's just a small typo. Under step 2, there's not a space between the 15 and the contract.
Gotcha. We'll make that change before pushing this out to staff.
What does, like page 22 of 26, like the teacher leadership, what, it says beginning teachers mentor 0% release. What does that mean?
Because 0% release means those individuals are working and teaching full-time, and then they are performing their duties in addition to or outside of their regular contract day.
Okay.
All right, so the areas that we have release time for is going to be currently for the instructional coach position. Terry Samuelson is that person. We have tried to get another position filled, but because of the lack of substitutes or people to fill vacancies of our existing staff, the last 2 years, we have not been successful in being able to fill that second position. All right, but that's what it's referencing, is whether or not they have release time from the day or whether or not it's an addition to their contractual day. The coordinator position was also meant to be a release, but again, because of not being able to obtain replacement staff, that has also moved or stayed basically as an in addition, and the compensation and expectations have been pared back to half of what would be normal in order to make it semi-manageable to be able to fulfill. And that's the same as last year.
Page 53, you have something that struck out, that whole paragraph on early retirement.
Early retirement is yearly sunsets. So each year, the board decides, generally in that November to January window, whether or not it is advantageous to the board to offer an early retirement incentive. Many districts have moved away from it over the years simply because it was designed to help you replace a tenured teacher who is ready to retire early with a lower cost replacement. Now with a limited replacement pool, many districts are pulling back from that. You were not here when we had the discussion a year ago, but we put it in place in part because we were getting feedback that there were individuals who were going to retire, but unless there was an incentive, they were not going to announce that retirement, which put the district then in severe disadvantage to be able to go out on the market and try to compete to fill that position. So most years it comes in, but it's not meant to be a guarantee. It sunsets every single year, that particular policy, and the dollar amount to the incentive has also changed over time, depending upon how great a need there was.
I'll move to approve the handbooks.
I'll second it with what little typo error it is.
Do you plan to fix that bottom? thing
We'll
where it has
figure
the-
out
Yeah, because I think that would be good.
there. Yep.
Is there 59 pages to it plus appendixes?
Correct.
Okay.
I believe that sounds right.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Chris, seconded by Mike to approve the employee handbook. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, discuss/approve district communications support.
This really is a continuation of the discussion you started. I'm not sure that it goes anywhere tonight, but I left it on the agenda nonetheless. So this would be referencing whether or not we want outside help with communications. We've had some discussion on possibility of the Donovan Group. When we went to the School Administrators of Iowa's convention this year, we also had an opportunity to listen to another group out of Minnesota that does similar types of things. And if there is interest by the board, we could reach out to obtain additional information with regard to the services they can provide. If you're not interested, then I wasn't going to reach out, obviously. So it really comes down to the pleasure of the board.
I'm interested in probably both of them.
At least find out see if they'll give us a bid of each. We know the Donovan Group was X amount of dollars. We don't know what the one out of Minnesota would be charging. It'd be nice to see if it's if they're fairly close.
And then that could probably be a something that the Public Relations Committee works on and makes a recommendation to the board after some analyzation, maybe of two different businesses that provide that type of service.
You know if the Minnesota one did the recruiting support that Arlington did? And how many open positions do we still have?
Right now, we're sitting with, I want to say it's 3+ in terms of open positions. The associate side is the plus side, right? So we'll have a better feel for that once we've gone through all the IEPs, basically. So we've got some of those filled, but we certainly still have some needs in that area, and we may discover we have more. From the teacher side, you've got family consumer science. We've got on the agenda tonight a part-time high school special ed. She's willing to help us out, helping family out, basically, which we greatly appreciate, but she's also made it very clear, if you can find someone to do this full-time, and we wrote that contract accordingly because we appreciate just the offer of the help. So we have those positions for sure that are currently in that open. We also have the potential to next year at least for some release positions if we were able to get some of these additional positions filled or at semester. In terms of the services, I didn't bring that print off with me as far as Minnesota, so I'm going to look toward the principals to see if they happen to remember. There was some overlap between the services that the two provide.
The PR committee will look at that anyway. I was just curious if you happen to know if that was one of the high level things they did. We'll look at that deeper.
So we'll work at getting that additional information for it.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Next item, discuss/approve IASB delegate representative. And I think what we're talking about is what Dustin did last year, correct?
That's correct. It's for the delegate assembly for the ISB school board convention that comes up in November.
I'm not even certain, what do they do at it, Dustin? I've never been the rep.
Well, you go in a big room and just bring up a lot of different their codes, and they just make amendments and they want to add things to it. It's just a long process, but it was informational for sure.
Is there voting that happens at the?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. Isn't kind of geared towards setting the political platform.
Yeah, it
For
is.
ISB.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Capitol Hill stuff.
Do you have interest in doing it again?
Do I?
Yeah.
Can't remember what day that landed on. I think
It's like a
day off.
Tuesday?
Thursday, isn't it?
I think I took a day
It's
off. last
it's
year.
before the regular convention begins.
Yeah, because convention's usually Friday, right?
It's usually Tuesday.
I think it was a Tuesday.
Yeah,
No,
it's Tuesday
it's
with the regular
Thursday.
convention, Wednesday, Thursday, I believe.
Okay, Wednesday, Thursday.
Or does anyone else wish to be the, what's the proper term, delegate representative?
Don't look at me.
Yeah.
I would be interested in doing it, but I'd make sure that any of the existing board members who are going to be here after the election, which I still have to pass through, if one of
You'd
them
be
wanted to
interested
do
in
it.
doing it again?
Yeah, because I think it's after the election, I believe.
It will be after the election, but probably before the courthouse has the results certified, would be my guess.
15th and 17th.
Still an unknown at that point, better to commit to you.
Put me down.
Okay. Thank you for being willing to do that. Next item, discuss/approve Pomeroy facility next steps. And we're really not approving any changes. It's just basically on the agenda to kind of update the board and the community as far as where we're at in this process. We met yesterday in Pomeroy with, like Cindy mentioned, with Cindy and 2 Pomeroy City Council members, along with Tony and myself and Joe. And I think we've got it kind of nailed down a way to get the, what you call them, blueprints or floor plan to the architect of the city's choice. We'll get that electronically shipped off with an agreement as to how it needs to be handled moving forward. We talked also about, some possibilities of future use of the building, along with the fact that we are moving forward with the asbestos testing at this point in time. And then once that comes back, then we'll move forward with abatement. One thing that maybe I knew this, or maybe this was explained to me, but I forgot it, that when it does get to the point of asbestos abatement, there has to be water in the building. And obviously, if we shut the heat off, you can't have water in the building depending on that time frame. If that takes place in the dead of the winter, you have to have heat to keep the water flowing. So we don't know at this point in time when asbestos abatement will take place. That's kind of it'll depend on how soon we get the tests back, number one, and then, what the time frame is for the business that can do the abatement, or businesses. We certainly appreciated the time visiting with the city council members that were present and Cindy, and I thought we had to me, it was a productive meeting. And I think the city council and the school board are doing what we can to try to make a good informed choice as to what to do with the building. And really, essentially, no one knows what the right path is. It's just kind of do as much research as we can and move forward. And I think we're open to, the setup for that meeting. I thought we could have some open communication without maybe the cumbersomeness of a city council meeting or a school board meeting. So I think we're open to doing things like that moving forward. So anything else that I'm missing, Joe or Tony?
Just the rumor that was out there that we had sold the building
yes.
to a private entity.
Yes, Dan DeVore brought up last night that the rumors out there that the school deeded the Pomeroy facility to a private entity, and that obviously is not true. There would have to be a lot of paperwork and a lot of approvals for that to happen, and that definitely did not happen. So anything we can do to squelch that rumor, that would be much appreciated.
Do we need to look forward here to this winter? This asbestos abatement removal gets done, let's say October, November. Is the plan to utilize that gym still for practices? Do we need to get some heaters in there?
My understanding
Heaters,
is,
run some propane.
my understanding is we voted to not use it for practice.
I don't remember voting on that.
The discussion, I believe, had to do with we were not going to spend any additional funds as far as propane and heating. Heating would be required in order of the entire facility, or reworking the fire alarm system. Sure. Because you have to keep the entire system heated for those alarms to function properly. So if you didn't heat the entire facility, then your alarm system isn't going to function properly. And I do not believe the fire marshal would allow you to be in there without a functioning.
A different type of alarm system set up.
Well, it's more than that, though.
Blocked off.
You'd have to beat
We
firewalls.
can meet firewalls
Yep.
and all that, but I'm just worried about not having enough gym space. We're already short. this isn't anything about Pomeroy or Connection. We need gym space. I mean, what's hanging a couple of heaters and running some propane? I mean, that's pennies to what?
Well, and what Joe's getting at is you basically can't do that because
I'm saying unless you put a firewall up of some way. I'm just worried about gym space. And if we're saving money, our travel is gonna pick up, if we go to the Brands.
Procedurally, I think-
That.
Yep, I think it's a valid question.
Sure.
Procedurally, I think what you'd have to do is you're gonna have to get an architectural firm or an engineering firm hired in order to then get the planning for the firewalls, because that's gonna have to be a plan submitted. I think it has to be submitted to the fire marshal's office.
Okay.
They have to sign off before you can then begin that work. Even if we did the work ourselves, that would have to transpire first, and then you would have to redo your alarm system. So there will be fairly substantial costs involved. It's not gonna be pennies. I mean, but
Well,
it can be done.
yeah,
Anything can be done with it if you want to spend enough money.
I just want this board to realize we need gym space.
And I think we have that covered, whether it be utilization of Lorenz's gym or more heavily using our existing facilities.
One of the things as Pomeroy digs into this and we follow up on our options, different things will come up that, here's a potential path, starts to become more realistic or be defined as not realistic. And then we can stack up money on either side for gym space and all the different pieces that fit in. Definitely great things you learned last night about the heating systems and that stuff and how it's all gonna tie together. Not to delay on the gym idea, but there will be opportunity to look at this with some real, actually considered through an architect, what would we have to do to change the firewall and move that over and change the heaters and know what our numbers would look like.
Yeah, and cold weather's a few months away, freezing weather.
That timeline was a big part of what we were driving.
Yeah. That's where my concern is, if we need gym space, which I'm concerned still, now I have to talk to Eric and see, but I'm concerned it's not just, the school, but there's also the youth programs that need that space if we're gonna build this culture, this sports around here, and continue to grow. We just need, I believe we need space, but, and I'm not saying you can't heat it for a couple of years or something or two, and then, but my opinion, we need the space. But something to think about. I know, like you said, cold weather's right around the corner. If we need to do something, we need to do something. I don't want to push us down the road and kick it down. We need to tackle it right away before
Can I say
anything freezes.
something to that? Because those are the kind of things that I would ask the architect, Dustin, so if you have some things, because I'm gonna be calling him tomorrow. And so if you have some things you want me to ask him, I don't know how to deal with an architect myself, so those are the kind of questions I'd like to ask, just so we can get a beginning part as to how to deal with the situation.
Okay,
So if you wanna give me some questions to ask him, that'd be good.
yeah, okay. And does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask on that?
I might formulate some questions.
Do you wanna shoot them to me? If you have questions, do you wanna shoot them to me?
Sure.
Would that be okay?
How soon?
Well, I'm planning on calling 2 people tomorrow.
Okay.
We have 2 people who responded to us, one more than the other, but I want to just talk to both of them, ask a lot of questions. And so if I have questions to ask, that'd be helpful to me to make a better decision as to who to talk to in the end.
But getting back to gym space, I guess I personally feel comfortable that we're gonna have that covered with use of Lorenz's gym and our existing gyms here. Youth sports is youth program is a little bit different animal. I know they've been using that facility, and hopefully there's some type of an alternative.
Well, I know as far as the youth programs go too, a gentleman called me and I do not remember what his name was, but he said it can mean anything, but I don't know where the liability aspect was with the gym there, at the church there on the highway.
Yes.
He said that they would let anybody utilize it, but I don't know where it goes forward with liability issues that way. That would be something else we'd have, if it came to that. we'd have
And
to
that
look
might
at
be something that your travel teams could use that without, because they're not school affiliated, so maybe another option.
Yeah, I'm curious now to see what the architect says, if we can do something like that, because now we're taking a piece of our property, our piece of property too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, I mean, I think we're kind of going over something that we already, at past meetings, we made a motion to not heat the facility, and to me, that meant we weren't gonna utilize it anymore, for a practice facility.
I guess we did, I didn't realize that. I knew we didn't order any propane, but
I've asked Mr. Francis to work up options as far as the practices are concerned, because when we get to the stage where we're gonna be doing the abatement piece, we won't probably be able to be in that building while they are physically removing asbestos either. I mean, those sections will be blocked off and there will be areas that we won't be allowed to be in. And it may be the entire facility. I don't know how they will structure that.
yeah, I'll be interested to see what they say about that. If they can hang something.
But we've talked a little bit about possibly either moving our own middle school programs to possibly mornings if necessary, or utilizing the Lorenz gym. Because I believe they've already verified that that is an option for us, so that there's no surprise, sorry, type of deal. But I know Mr. Francis is working on that.
Any other discussion on the Pomeroy facility? If not, we will move on. Next item, discuss / approve. Boy, how do you say that one? Edgenuity?
Correct.
To replace Odyssey Wear,
Yes.
and that would be on which page?
Page 16.
Okay, that was the back side.
Correct. So Odyssey Wear is the software program we have been using since we transitioned from our alternative school, the RLC, from a paper pencil curriculum to an electronic curriculum. So I can't remember how many years, but it goes way back. We started this transition years and years ago. What's happened more recently in the last couple of years, maybe even as early as last year, Odyssey Wear was purchased out. They were bought out. So Edgenuity moved in, purchased the company. They have now notified us that they are no longer going to be supporting Odyssey Wear moving forward. Edgenuity is the program that is actually supported and backed up by the Department of Ed as an alternative for schools to look at. They have vocational courses, they have instructors set up within the state aligned to those as well, so that it opens a few more doors as far as options for our students. The biggest concern here is the support, because last year we were already noticing some challenges that they were not continuing their investment in Odyssey Wear. So there were times where the system was logged down, or we couldn't get in for periods of time, waiting for programmers to figure out what was happening. They basically moved their assets and their resources to Edgenuity. They took what they liked out of Odyssey Wear, incorporated into Edgenuity, and then updated everything. I believe last year's quote for Odyssey Wear was just below 20,000. You'll notice this is higher, but given the inflational rate, not necessarily out of line. We tried to do some negotiating to see if we couldn't bring that number down slightly for the district. We had a much stronger position bargaining with Odyssey Wear, because quite frankly, we've been with them for a very long time, and we're one of the early adopters within the state for Odyssey Wear. So as a result, they worked a lot harder with us to keep our numbers down and our costs down. Last year, those went up when the company was acquired. And what we're recommending tonight to you is to fully transition over from Odyssey Ware to Edgenuity. It will expand some of our offerings in areas that I believe will be beneficial. Much of it will be the same, but the front end will look different. We've talked to the company, and Andrea's taken kind of the lead along with Mr. Friesner on these discussions with the company. I believe they've given us, is it 1 month or 2 months?
They extended Odyssey Ware almost 6 weeks for us.
6
for
weeks.
Kids who are finishing.
A course that they're currently.
So, yeah, to be able to finish what they're currently in.
So this appears to be one of the very few options we have.
By and large, the majority of the school districts, I think, in the state right now are on the Edgenuity platform, which is why this is the program supported by the Department of Ed. And I believe the governor's office is also strongly behind this particular program as well.
Any questions on it?
I'm not, is this a software? I'm not very good.
Yes, I'm sorry,
So how long does
explained.
this take you to get in our system? Does it happen overnight or?
Transitional time, when we were dealing with Odyssey Ware, was probably over the course of a week,
Yeah, I was gonna say
10 days, somewhere in that neighborhood.
And then to learn the program and all that stuff too?
Correct. And what's included in that quote is some of that additional training.
Okay.
Does a rep actually come out, or does Bill basically do the?
No, this is, I believe it's virtual training
Yeah,
for
it's
this.
all through Zoom. They'll Zoom with us anytime that we need assistance. The
Okay.
support has been fabulous so far. Obviously, they also want to sell it to us.
Yeah.
I think it's a good move.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Chris, seconded by Jolene to approve the Edgenuity software. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Next item, discuss/approve special education new course description for a half a credit each semester.
So on page 17 of your packets, you'll find the course outline, description. Currently, right now, you have students within the special education department who are, because of their deficit, have individualized specialized instruction. This requires them to give up another class in order to have a period free in order to do this work. It's not the entire period, but it does take a substantial chunk of that period. This has put some of our students somewhat behind on the elective side, where they're not able to take some of the electives that they might like to otherwise take in terms of moving toward their graduation requirements. In this proposal, each semester they would pick up a half of a credit, where right now we offer a full credit, and our credits are not Carnegie units, just for explanations, not that most people in here know the difference. But so a regular class, if you took an English class right now, you're gonna get a credit for that semester course, assuming you pass that class requirements. This would be a half credit because it's not a full period that they are working on their individualized instruction. The department instructors felt this would give additional motivation to those students who are having to give up another period to come in and work on those skill sets in terms of keeping them more focused and on board. We began these discussions second semester last year. And actually we started conversations nearly a year ago, or a little over a year ago. This is modeled after what some other schools have similarly. So it's not as if this is new territory that we're plowing here. There are some school districts that have already implemented this change. And we're asking the board tonight to consider implementing it. Sched code's listed, so it would plug directly in with your approval, potentially as early as tomorrow or the next day, so that this goes into place for first semester.
So most of these would be electives that they're working on.
This would fall under the elected category, correct?
Who brought this forth?
The instructors.
Instructors did, good for them. Like that.
You'll notice in the slot, it says no GPA, so this will not affect their general grade point average. Yep, pass fail.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion made by Chris, seconded by Mike to approve the special education new course for a half a credit each semester. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please let us know if this ends up being a positive thing. It'd be interesting to hear how it, if it gives some additional motivation. Next item, discuss/approve board PR committee representation. And we talked last meeting about this. We're thinking 2 to 3 individuals. I think one of the first things that this committee could do is maybe give the full board a recommendation as to which, whether it be the Donovan group or the group out of Minnesota, or if we don't even want to do this, that'd be just maybe a project for this committee to do some research. And in my mind, maybe if we could have, if you could provide the PR committee maybe a group of teachers to speak with and see if they're on board with this, if they think this would be a good idea. I don't know what you guys think about that. Maybe something that the PR committee could research so that we have a feel from when we listen to the Donovan group. I think it's a very good idea. I think could be a lot of positives that come out of hiring that type of a business. But I also looked at it from the side that if you don't have buy-in from the teachers, it's probably not going to be successful. So maybe that's something that we can research ahead of time, whether or not the teachers think this is worth the dollars and cents to do it. But getting back to what's on our agenda in front of us, we're going to have some turnover with the board because of a lot of terms expiring and people not rerunning. First off, who has interest in being on the committee?
I do.
I do as well, but
Yeah.
we prefer that to the board members who serve the full term and who are about to step away from that. There's an opportunity here to message about the good things that have happened over that term and offer that first to them.
I'm not opposed to being on the committee. Just have to bear in mind that my term on the board is limited. My term expires and I do not plan to rerun, so. But I'd be happy to be on the committee for a short term and maybe learn some things and maybe provide some good suggestions for the district. Does anyone else have interest in being on it? And I suppose it's not required that we have 3 people on it. But sometimes the more ideas, the better.
If nobody else is interested, I'd make a motion from myself, Paul, and Dustin to be seated on the PR committee.
I'd second that.
Okay. We have a motion made by Tony, seconded by Jolene to formulate our first PR committee made up of Tony, myself, and Dustin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So our next step will be to schedule a meeting or meetings. No problem. Next on the agenda, discuss / approve extending the total bus ride times up to 75 minutes if needed. Joe, you want to lead us into that?
Sure. Starts on page 30 of your packet, some of the background information. So this was a legislative change that took place, allowing school districts to extend that elementary time. Currently, that elementary time sits at a maximum of 60 minutes. Senate File 2137, when it was passed and enacted, allowed school districts to extend that time for the elementary students if needed from 60 minutes to 75 minutes. Currently, in the past, we've been able to keep our routes under that 60-minute window. We're starting to bump up against that, and just because of challenges with staff, illnesses, being gone, reworking routes, we may have opportunities or times where we're not going to be able to have a regular route that doesn't go over that 60 minutes. Do I believe we need 75? Probably not. But 60 is potentially going to be something we buck right up against and possibly go over slightly. We're trying to refine those routes and get them fine-tuned the very best we can, because no one wants students on a bus any longer than is absolutely necessary.
Right.
The concern is we've also seen some other states where they have started canceling school or calling off school because they do not have adequate drivers in order to get people in, sometimes under those timelines. And we'd rather not be in that situation where we're making up days because we're up against a hard timeline where we've got one or two routes that are going to be pushing that 60-minute timeline. So this is really about being transparent and being upfront with people. We don't want to go here, but we certainly believe we need to ask you for permission that if necessary, we can go over that 60-minute slightly if necessary. The goal is going to be not to, but we want to be realistic about where we're at as well.
I was told that did happen in Georgia, that they were closing school because of the fact they didn't have busing.
This is for us right now. Is this a staffing issue for bus drivers?
It is in part. Yep.
So would this be a temporary thing as we're still trying to fill those positions?
We're certainly still working on filling those. I mean, like I said, the goal here is not to be over that 60-minute window and to stay under it. This is a fail-safe if necessary in order that we are in compliance. And the only way to do that is through board action.
Is this saying, if I'm reading this, it says beyond 75 minutes if the board holds 2 public hearings on a proposed resolution?
There's a procedure, I believe, here. Let me take a look at which paragraph you're in. But I believe to go over the 75, you have to hold, to go beyond 75 minutes, the board would have to hold 2 public hearings on a resolution to go beyond that 75-minute timeline. Currently, right now, the 75 is what is used for middle school, high school age students.
Yep.
All of our buses, however, have a mixture. So the reality of it is, generally speaking, we're bucking up against that 60-minute because my buses are not designed to only pick up elementary or only pick up secondary students. We have a mixture. There are times already in the past few years, because of the expanse of our district, we've got students coming from 387 square miles plus that we are picking up. As a result of that, there are times when we will go out and pick up that first elementary student, having driven out as far as possible first, empty, in order to come back in order to make those timelines work and keep our elementary students under that 60 minutes. This simply opens the door that there's another option.
Yeah, I personally don't have an issue with it, so long as, I mean, the goal is to keep it, the travel time as minimal as possible. And maybe, things work out well and we are able to recruit additional drivers, maybe this becomes something that's, could be temporary.
Correct. That would be our desire.
Move to approve.
Second.
We're moving to approve to schedule the hearing.
No, you
No,
only
no,
need hearings
this is- we're
if
just
you're
extending
asking
it to
for more
75
than
minutes.
75 minutes.
If you go over 75, you gotta
So
have.
we're-
If you go beyond the 75 minutes, that requires 2 hearings and a resolution. To go up to 75 only takes board action.
Right.
And we're certainly not asking to go over 75.
I got a question, as a parent, how do you notify families if it's gonna be 75 in the morning or 75 after school? How do we notify parents?
The pickup times would be communicated to parents if it's going to extend beyond that 60-minute.
So does that mean they get picked up earlier?
It's possible.
It's like my kids already get picked up at 7:03.
Yep.
So you'll notify us in a manually time that we pay.
It would not be the morning of.
That's what I was just worried
Yep,
about, that's
sure.
what families are gonna be like scrambling,
No.
we just need to make sure.
This is for regular routes.
We're within the time frame. We got some afternoons where the kids only ride in the afternoons, so that adds more stops. Or there's someone further away that only ride at night, so we have more issues at night than we do in the morning as far as. I mean, most of our mornings are pretty well set their times where they should be unless we end up getting more stops as school starts in the year.
So it's possible this, if we approve this board action, it may not impact any of the morning timeframes.
As of right now, it should not impact any of the morning.
Okay.
Like I said, unless we get a stop that comes in that's, as Mr. Kramer said, when we got buses that are driving probably 20, 25 minutes one way, start their route and then they work back towards town. In other words, we'd never make the timeline we needed to.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So we have a motion made by Mike, seconded by Nick to approve to extend the bus times up to 75 minutes if needed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, discuss/approve transportant bus camera locating an onboarding system.
This is a revisit. We've sent this information out previously to the board. So this starts on page 18 of your packets with the quote, with additional information following it. Several months ago, we started the process by sharing with the board links where you could take a look at some of the services that this particular company provides. It is completely different type of system than what we've done currently, but our current bus cameras are aging and we're going to have to do something, whether it's this or something else. We've got routes now that are operating off of antiquated equipment that sometimes works and sometimes if we go to pull the video, it's not there. And that doesn't really do us a lot of good. The additional services that this provides is also GPS locating of your route buses so that transportation department or the office can actually see. I'll use the example of inclement weather. We've got a route that's gotten hung up or they've got, right now it could be on Highway 4 with road construction where they're sitting. This would actually show that in live time where they're located so that you had an idea of where that bus was at all times. It also has the ability within that video and audio that instead of having to pull the video, which is what we have to do currently with our existing system, either bring that video in or have the building principals go out to the bus barn in order to view video if there's been a disciplinary situation that has to be investigated while on the bus. All right? This would allow the administrator to actually do it from their computer console, pull up that video without physically having to go out to the bus barn in order to pull that equipment or that video up. It even provides an opportunity for the building principal, if they pull it up and see behaviors that are not appropriate, to actually communicate directly with the students on that bus in terms of whatever action is not appropriate, whether that's moving on the bus or throwing things on the bus, whatever it might be. So it does expand that. It also potentially can include, it would take us a little bit longer to get to this part, but it could move to the place where students are scanning as they're coming on and it's logging, so the parent gets a notification when that bus is within so many miles of the house, so they know that bus is approaching for that pickup. So rather than have to have students sitting down by the road or standing down by the road waiting, they would actually get a notification. It would also notify them once the students were on the bus and scanned forward, so that they knew their child got on that bus at this time, rather than a question mark of, did the child go back in the house or something else, right? So it opens up a little bit more options for us down the road. With that said, I'm gonna let you, if you want to ask questions of Jeff or the building principals, in terms of their thoughts, in terms of how this potentially is a benefit to the district, and I think potentially to the parents of the district with additional information.
How often are we pulling video, would you say, in a week, month?
Probably pull it more than she does, but 3 or 4 times a month.
3 or 4 times a month?
And I have it where it'll be more technical parents and I can check it.
Okay.
What are we talking for costs then?
Okay, so it's $4,614 per bus.
How much per bus?
$4,614.
4,000.
$4,614 per bus. We have vans that we also use for some of our transports, whether that's to NCCS or to other facilities. It would be just under $2,000 to place this in a van so that you had that information live for those transports as they're moving kids.
Is that the one that says $19.99?
Yes.
Okay.
How many buses do we have?
Current route buses, Jeff, help me out, make sure it's
Run 8 routes.
8 routes.
I would probably ask to do 10 buses, because if you pull a route bus off, them kids know if the camera's there or not. If you put a spare bus in there, they know that it don't have a camera, so I would like to have 2 spare buses with cameras on.
So if I was just gonna ask, how many vans are you planning on doing, Jeff?
We're looking at possibly doing 3 to 4 vans. We run 2, one to MCCS, and then we're running last year, we're running 1 to Spencer. I'd like to do both of our little vans that we use for them for sure. But in this program, it also, all of my routes will be on there, and they have just started with, I talked to them last week.
Oh, yeah, 46.
That it's just like using your Google Maps on your phones. It'll give you verbal directions, turn here, turn there. So if you put a sub driver in it, right now, I gotta print a map out, and they gotta try to hold the map to drive the bus. Where this way, all my maps will be in every bus, so they can just click which map or route they're doing, and it will be there to tell them where they go.
Turn right, turn
Ridership program, if they come to a stop in Pomeroy all the kids' pictures will show up on the screen, and it can be set up as they board. they can push their picture and then that will show that, yes, they are on the bus. Because again, if you got a sub driver and somebody principal calls, say it's such on the bus, they might not even know who that kid is. So this way, they can look up, and that records in the offices too, that yes, that kid boarded at a certain time, and that kid got off at this location at this time. So it's more of a, we're tracking them, we know where they're at. And we got some families that some days go here, some days they go to this town. You know, if they call and say, they didn't get off the bus, yeah, they did, here's where they got off. We don't know where they walked to after they got off, but they did get off the bus. So I think there's a lot of potential to help solve a lot of problems or complications that we have with trying to say, okay, is this person on the bus? And it could even be used for field trips. If the teacher can give you the list of kids that are going on the field trip, I can enter it, they can card in when they leave the school off. You can get to, well, like, they state basketball, that bus is sitting there waiting. You don't know where they're at, or you're sitting there trying to take account who's there. You know who is on that bus, who's supposed to be on that bus.
Well, God forbid, if there's an emergency, this is a nice feature to have, and it saves you time trying to figure out where a person or a student is. Do we have any idea, this is probably going back a ways, when we installed cameras, the ones that we're gonna replace, do we have any idea how much they cost years back?
Currently, well, years back, I couldn't tell you. Currently, we've got, I think, 2 buses that have full camera systems in them. One was put in 20. But I priced just the camera system. To do this, this is the only company I found that does the whole package between the cameras and the ridership. I've got 2 quotes of just the cameras alone, cost more than this whole program does. So then if you want to do ridership, you gotta go through another company to try to work with this company, to try to do your ridership and cameras all at the same time.
Did they happen to provide you, Jeff, with other districts using it in Iowa?
West Des Moines is in the process of putting it in. Wichita, Kansas is a big user of this company in their school system. And I think, Linn-Mark Sully might be the other one, that is putting them in. They're new, coming to the state of Iowa, they're big in Kansas right now.
And if this is something the board wanted more information on, their representative is willing to come to a board meeting and actually demonstrate or demo these features, if that is something that would help put minds at ease, because we know we're asking for a substantial amount here. This is not a small investment.
So if we have GPS, we're stuck on a road, Jeff, and we see that it comes back, oh, there's delayed. What do we do with that information? How would we handle that information? How would we get that out there?
Well, I would know exactly where that bus is at. And then we would have to go through either the Remind app to notify the parents that they're stalled. But it won't notify a parent because it is set up so a parent cannot track that bus just for security reasons. I believe it notifies the parent within 2 stops of their place that the bus is, you know, on or where they're at in the route. But as far as if there's an issue with that bus, I can pull up the exact location. I can pull up the cameras to say, he's stuck behind a train or behind farm equipment, that's why he's running late. I mean, it just gives us more knowledge, more opportunity to pass the information on and say, hey, you're gonna be late, or somebody, is blocking the road and he has to back up half a mile, but he's gonna get turned around and he can't get through. I mean, it just offers us more information for administration to let people know what's going on.
Okay. So that's just what the parent app is then, it's just to let them know that they're coming or getting close.
Yeah, and I believe it'll tell them too that, yes, they got on the board of the bus and they got off the bus.
Well, if it gets to the point where we're scanning kids' badges or whatever, will that take a considerable amount of time, extra time for these drivers? Will take an extra 15 minutes?
It's just a scanner they put on the deal, and a lot of them it's on like your stairwell of the bus. And then if we go with the scanner, and I don't know how the lunch program is, but sometimes different school districts use like your card you use to swipe for your lunch. And you either have it on your backpack or whatever, and it scans it and get on the bus. Or, like not necessarily your group stops, but like in rural or whatever, a stop, they just come on. If we go with the pictures, they just come on, push the picture. It marks green that, you're supposed to be on this bus. If it comes up red, you're not supposed to be on this bus. We've had people try to sneak from this town to this town,
Is this an all or nothing type of package we're trying to do here? Or can we break this down to try it on a few buses first?
No, we can go 2 buses, 4 buses. You could go with just the camera system, or you can add the ridership. I would really push for the pad in there, just with the back doing the routes. All of our pre-trip inspections will be done on there, and all of our mileage will be kept on there.
Nice, okay.
So when it comes time for doing annual reports, we can go download it on the computer and not have to sit there and have somebody tally up all of our route miles for the year.
Yeah.
How soon could we get a rep out to talk to us about it, if that's something we wanted to do?
I can call him being Thursday, he might be able to come through next week, he's out of Wisconsin. But I can,
I'm thinking more of the next board meeting.
Well, it wouldn't bother me either, even if we had to have a special.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we're only talking an hour.
Right. And we've had special
We've
board
had
meetings.
plenty of it, so another hour's not a big deal.
I personally wouldn't mind having more information.
I'd like to at least.
It's just a
talk
pretty
to you.
expensive deal, and I'm not saying I'm not in support of it.
right.
I was gonna ask him too, I wanna make sure he honors it says 45 days, well, we're past the 45-day mark.
Yeah, I talked to him last week, he said it's still good, I believe he contacted me Thursday, to see where we were at. I'm supposed to contact him after the meeting tonight to see what we're coming up with. Right now, if we go with it after paperwork is done, he said probably looking at mid-October for installation. And they come and install it, they do all the maintenance on it. If we have an issue, if we have a camera that we can't pull up video, wherever they're out of Wichita or wherever they're out of, they can log into them buses and they can log into the cameras. If we got a camera that's not working, they'll replace it. They send us a camera, we send them their back.
For transparency purposes, when you look at that quote at the bottom, there is an ongoing cost for that cellular service.
I see that.
You're
The
basically,
first year they cover it all, and then after that, it's a monthly, isn't it?
It's billed at installation.
Is this billing per bus and van, or is that one subscription covers 10 buses?
I think it's per.
Yes,
It
that
is
was the
per.
other thing.
Because it says all buses have.
Because basically, you've got the equivalent of a cell phone on each of those vehicles. I'll just make it simple, right? I mean,
And that's something we can ask him to, I mean, we'll verify it with him or whatever.
And this will also provide the Wi-Fi for the students. Bill sets up the firewalls for wherever he needs to build it, so we can get rid of our hotspots. So they will do the Wi-Fi data to us.
Yeah.
I would like to know that it will handle our student loads before you disconnect the other.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Right.
What's the consensus of the board? Do we want more information, or do we want to vote on this now?
This general fund.
this would be be equipment, so this would be like the purchasing of the bus. I believe this would not be management, but this would be your physical plant and equipment levy, so your Pebble. It would not be a general fund. Because it's gonna be based on that total unit cost, which is in excess of that 500, which is the minimal amount required for it to be a Pebble technology purchase.
I have a question for the principals. Have you guys, I know it's been limited and you said it's, but when you have been able to access it, has it been pretty helpful to you when you?
That's one of the things I was gonna say, we got to watch a bus ride live, and so the location of the cameras on the system, you can see everything much better.
I was curious
On
about
our
that.
buses, you see them sitting trucks,
Sure,
so you don't really know what's going on. That kind of.
sure.
So this was really easy, you could see a lot more right now.
Yeah, our cameras right now are in the front bulkhead and the rear bulkhead above the door. So basically, if they're hiding in the seat, you can't see them. You know, unless they get out in the aisle or stand up. The system that they're talking, the cameras are above the seats, so they see in between the seats. And I believe instead of 2 cameras, there are 5 on the bus. One above the driver looking out the door, so you can see him getting on and off. And then there is the option of putting the stop arm, the stop sign one on the side of the bus. And we may have 1 or 2 a year that we have to turn in. We don't do a lot of highway stops normally, that we have to worry about it, but the quality of the picture and just being able to see from probably 2010 till now, the seats are probably 8 inches taller. So the ability to see smaller kids.
Yeah.
You can see them between the seats, what they're doing versus this, you can pretty well see everything that we've done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Destin, with your question, it would take a little bit longer in order to get that ridership piece as far as that component established, because there's more data entry that has to be done associated with that because of each of the riders.
Yeah, it will take each one, they gotta download a file, they can take it off our Infinite Campus. And then I gotta go through and put what crowd goes to what stop. It won't actually do the routing, I still have to do the routing, but it will group the kids into what stop they go to.
The card readers and other hardware that goes with that. Not sure if it's included, I don't think it is.
I don't believe a card reader is. The scanner piece is built into
I think it's built
the
into
tablet,
the tablet.
basically a tablet that sits on the bus. That they shared with us what was coming this year was the verbal turn-by-turn directions for that driver, potentially with that this
And
particular
they just
year.
launched that this month.
This year. They have a key fob, but in talking to the representative, you've got to make sure the kids don't lose their key fob or they don't forget to bring it. So while there is a way of just
I was curious
walking
about that
past,
because I haven't.
but there's some challenges that come with that as well. Where if they're just selecting their picture or scanning a card, that has been a little bit more reliable.
I think there's real potential for some preventative. We have some routes that are worse than others, and so if their principal gets on, the bus driver, so you sit down, might have more effect on some of the kids that might go in. And then I'm watching them live.
We had a few routes last year, or buses, I should say, not routes, where Tracy had to get, Mrs. Carlson had to get on that and ride the route because behaviors were so bad. In one case, I believe we had both the transportation director and the principal on that particular bus, front and back, in order to address behaviors that were not acceptable on a moving bus.
So if we're gonna approve this, it's basically 55,000.
Where I'm gonna
Close to it.
estimate it, yep.
55, 56.
I wouldn't mind trying to start with two or three of them, let the drivers get used to it. And then when they get used to it, they can, if we decide to get more, they can easily help out the other drivers and rather than get it all at once and everyone's going, how do I use this? What do I do? And we're trying to drive a bus route at the same time.
You're also operating two different systems, then,
Yeah.
too, which is a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Does it come on, I'm just curious because kids in general are a lot more technology. Does it come on when the bus comes on? Is it something the bus driver has to turn on? Could a kid somehow get, I mean, obviously that's not.
It comes on when he starts the bus,
It
and
comes on.
after the bus is shut off, it's got a set time that it still records
Okay,
the video.
okay.
So it's not easily manipulated type of.
No, you can easily manipulate it now versus being the other way, because, I mean, they can take a part out of it if we have a video.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
and, I mean, we got a couple buses that the rear camera, all you can hear on that is the exhaust noise of the bus. And it's pretty much a useless camera as far as the audio goes. So, I mean, and I don't know what year, well, that bus is in 19. So, I mean, that's a fairly new system. But these cameras are a completely different style of cameras than what them
I
have.
reckon we need 10 buses.
I mean, right now, I go out, I don't have
If you want to have
camera,
them come and show
turn
you.
the card out, I gotta go to my computer, watch it,
10?
you know, sort of do the day.
Four schools.
All of us. I don't know. That, to me, it's a mistake because I just don't want to get lost in the shuffle.
I don't think.
And then if we have three, we turn out, yeah, it's a good product, but somehow we don't like it, we're stuck with 10. Instead of trying three.
Is there any, I mean, they gave us a quote, obviously. Is it cheaper if we go with all of them, or I assume this is just price?
I don't know, I'd have to call
You'd have to ask.
them and find out.
Would there be an opportunity for facial recognition?
Whoa.
Facial recognition?
We don't-
They're not working, they might be working to it, but it's not offered right at the moment.
I don't know, I want to
And then that would like, you'd bring your tire.
Right, I would be more
Yeah,
happy
they're
if they have
sensitive to
the
that.
pictures come up and they push the button and let them know who, you know, that they are.
Well.
You're fully comfortable with this, Jeff?
He's the only one I can find that offers the full program. Like I said, we run REI cameras now, and I got a quote from REI that is probably $10,000 to $12,000 more, and that's only putting 3 cameras in a bus, and that don't include any of the other stuff that goes with it, no GPS, no ridership.
And currently our cameras don't work anyway, right, for the most part? Can't see
We
anything,
got-
right? So something would have to be done different, even on the other 7 buses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We got 2 buses right now that currently have camera systems that work.
Yeah.
And we'd rather not tell you which 2 buses.
Well, I tell you what, I'll make a motion to, allow 3 buses to get set up for now. Just so we get it figured out, see if we like it, bus drivers. To install on these buses.
What do we pay for that subscription now for your video service? You're talking $11,000 a year just for subscriptions for 14 vehicles every year, and where the equipment goes, et cetera. I'd still like to talk to the rep, see what our options are personally.
I don't see a problem with
I
postponing it a little while.
I just soon talk to the rep first.
You wanna run that motion quick? I'm sorry I made it.
Do we have a second? If we don't have a second, it's
Good enough. Thanks.
Like I said, I just soon talk to the rep too.
Well, I think
If he
that
can
might
be
be
here,
the
if he can
consensus,
be here
have the
next
rep
week,
talk
Jeff,
to
or
us.
whatever, we'll have a special meeting, talk to him.
Are we
I'll
open?
send him a text message tonight to see that he can get back, he'll be back to the area again.
We're open to a special meeting just to talk about that. Okay. All right,
Thanks,
let's
Jeff.
move that direction. Next item, discuss/approve sharing librarian with Prairie Lakes AEA.
This is a service our AEA, all AEAs just about are now providing because of the shortage of librarians across the state. Legislature made an attempt this year to open it up that if you could hire a librarian from a city library, that could now pass from a licensing point of view. But that hasn't necessarily taken care of the problem. We have requested this as an option. Their board has approved it. I believe this is on page 29 of your packets.
Now, the 4,000, that's for the whole year, or is that per semester?
That's annual.
Okay.
This will keep the district within compliance as far as having a librarian of record and someone who can support our staff that are currently working in those libraries, so we can continue providing the services to students without seeing dramatic changes.
Move to approve.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion made by Chris, seconded by Nick to approve the sharing the librarian with the Prairie Lakes AEA. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to personnel. We do not have any resignations, correct? No. And under contracts, we have Dominic Schnell, middle school football position. Macy Andreessen, middle school volleyball position. Amanda Mefford, 0.6 time FTE special education teacher. Janice Morrissey, associate. Nikki Johnson, library para. Brian Friesner, TLC coordinator. TLC building leadership team, Amy Meyer, Amber Evans, Leon Johnson, and Megan Benson. TLC mentors, Keenan Lewis, Chad Francis, Susan Ehlers, Gwen Johnson, and Chris Hendrickson. TLC instructional coach, Terry Samuelson. TLC committee, Brian Bowers, Rachel Millman, and Tiffany Clausen. Barney Essing, bus driver. Cody Thompson, associate. Leon Johnson, middle school volleyball. Keenan Lewis, assistant boys basketball. Avery Busta, middle school boys basketball. Jeannie Syndergaard and Sarah Honze, volleyball, basketball, wrestling concessions. And then this was a little bit of a typo. Wayne Vinsan, take that extra D out of there. Mechanic. And then our addition of Aaron McCullough, student council sponsor. We have a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Wait, I'll move to approve contracts.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made by Nick, seconded by Mike to approve the contracts as listed, plus the additional one. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Good luck to all of them. Superintendent's update.
We'll work at getting you the additional information then, as far as that additional company. There is another piece that we'll also share with that newly formed PR committee that could also be possibly a point of consideration. It would not provide all of the components, but it would be an option to provide some additional components as far as communications. So there is another one in addition to the two we've talked about this evening that will be pushing information out to that committee. We're also working, we will be working, I should say, to try to get you set up as far as your camera system. As far as the current buildings, we do have some issues that we're currently working through over at the elementary. Question mark here, we're watching two areas carefully. We're taxing and stressing the system, given the temperatures and the level of humidity that we've had running. We're pulling some internal filters out of some of the elementary units starting today, as we were starting to have some of those units that worked fine in the morning, and as the temperature and humidity went up, they started struggling to keep up. So we think we have found a way to correct those, but it's going to take us a little bit of time to start moving through those. Wind and sand was good enough to help us.
Hopefully next week is cooler.
I'm definitely hoping for that. But we want the system to work, right?
Yeah.
And right now, the existing elementary units, what we had been told previously was that we had to remove the entire internal guts, all the coils out in order to get to the internal filters inside the units. Today, working, we had Greg White and Wayne Van Sand looking at those units, and they have found a way to get access to those internal filters without having to remove the entire internal guts out of the way. That, I believe, will open some additional doors for us in order to be able to expedite some of that servicing that needs to take place. When it's dry, they pull in dust. It's just like our homes.
Yeah.
It's out there, and when you add this humidity into it, now you've got a sludge that's forming on those filters, and it is making pulling air through a real challenge for us. So as a result, they're not keeping up. We've also got another situation with some of those units. They have the internal drip pans off those condensers. When that pan has a float in it, because of the filters being clogged, that material is falling down into the pan. The pan then is becoming plugged. So then the float rises, turning the unit off, because you have this very slow trickle coming out that can't keep up on the high humidity side of what we've been experiencing the last few days. Previously, they were tearing the units apart. We were having to bring an outside company in to blow it out. Today, we've problem solved, to be honest, and trying to find some way to stay ahead of this so we didn't have to let out early today. That's not what you want to do when you've got all this money invested in facilities that have air conditioning, obviously. Today, we worked and set up a system basically using a small shop vac where we were able to hook up on the outside drip location in order to pull the material out rather than having to tear the units apart from the inside to get to it in order to flush it out. So I think we made some huge headway today in terms of troubleshooting, way beyond what we were given for instructions when the system was installed. But we're gonna have to work really hard and fast to stay in front of this for the next 2 days yet.
What's the timetable? Like, what's the life expectancy of these units?
We don't know the answer. It's a good question. I can't answer it. I don't know. The system itself
Is not
has
near
been
as good as
described
it
as
looks to
being
be.
highly over-engineered for what we needed.
Yeah.
And the company itself, I believe, may even be struggling or out of the marketplace. We're able to get parts still, and we've got the company that did the install that's able to work with us. But this is going to be a long-term issue that we're going to have to address. The original plans, when we were talking about doing the addition onto the elementary building for the early childhood piece, part of that project would have been a discussion to change out those units into something that is way more reliable than what we currently have installed.
Are these under warranty yet, or are they?
Oh, they're way past.
So how many years have we had these units?
Oh, 2000, they were operational when we moved in, I
I think it
believe,
predates me.
2015, I believe,
15?
15.
So they're only years old.
Yeah, but outside of the warranty piece, and with no company necessarily to fully back that up, it also creates some challenges. Company installed it, I believe, had a 1-year coverage for us, but we're way outside of that now.
Okay, that's all I've got. All right. So we need to have a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second it then.
Motion made by Nick, seconded by Mike. Karen, if you could do a roll call vote?
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe, and it maybe it wasn't fully processed, but like, it that's what we're doing. The first 2 days are really outside. But I wasn't gonna take anything, so they manage transportation. But 2 of them are in middle school now, because our middle school is 4 to 8. My 4th grader, it's his first.
That name, Rich, you're out.
And that's all across town. I don't have, we're on like 3 blocks from middle school. They pick up each other. And walk. It wasn't very brief. I'm gonna be busy. So. It's good.
Having one kid, never zero.
Everything, the city where it needs.
I got tons of texts, like, try to get them packed for lunches or something, you know, about, he did get a shower. Which isn't hard to get.
Primary.
And it's 1:30 degrees, I told him, well, come shower again.
I am lucky when I fix something, beside it, you shower, it's not.
Yeah.
Katie, you was that way.
It's all.
And Josh
We are. We are really getting to put a. No one ever applies. Well, I appreciate. Right, I didn't really get to do that, but it works great when we've got a long time. Yeah. What's kind of planning store? So basically, it's just basically what's already there. Is there something prior to that thing where it's already stop speakers crosswalk? Only thing you mean thing that's more than half up. Especially if you're crossing the year, they don't have to hear it. It's just that yellow, sometimes you see them, yellow sign that have rubber books. And it just says, once it stops, they're out there. Because it's basically not stopping. So you just stop and check. And then it gives you that. But I think especially the education.
Like an
I'm good with that. So,
I get 4-inch, me and I have 4-inches, and then colleges are like,
yeah, they don't.
Indiana University has 4 inches. They did, comments on it, where I showed you, because it was one
It's
person.
not my thought process.
How much space she has. It's off again, the student housing, it's gonna be 4 wings, it's essentially from 3 rows of units, each have their own bedroom and their own bathroom. Like, it's.
Is there anywhere that says city property? It's not a shared needs. And the difference is school crossing. And all the sign, yeah, so that's how you cover it. And then the other question you had from was, should I have yellows on? Pretty sure. Yeah, yellows on. Anytime you replace the yellow sign. Well.
Any other difference weeks, sometimes people put all of them in one half this week and all of the, it wasn't that like.
Actually, because the project we're doing here to shoot, we all video. She did. Sitting in one of my feet.
And then it's just one more people that they're.
That was crazy watch.
But it's clearly designed for students for the different projects, like. We have a quad on the other side of my room.
Yeah.
There's a quad, so it's the gorgeous. Which is true. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. I didn't see that. One month. Yeah. I don't know. It's like enjoying. At least one thing, I'm a morning person, so I just have to pack lunches. That's what I said, yeah, I've been there last year. How do you guys do it? Oh, like, no, but we don't want.
And then they have, what do you put that on? Everybody have a feedback. I will try. Yeah.
I've seen some things that they're like, bins, and they have like, so many things that like, I, you get to pack them on, but it's part of the package. I had thought about doing that, but I feel like we have such varied tastes. I'm not really looking at them, and like, one of our buildings is not free. So you have to work harder on it, like I get sent, granola bars, I get sent, and the bacon is connected to it.
Jelly. Yeah. Yeah, so, and, yeah. I always set up things and I look up, oh, well, oh, I did that. I don't know. But they have, I think, now we're going to middle school, it might be like one. But in middle school, it's not that they have really good at you're a fourth grader. That's the way don't touch things that I No, no, not like Great. Look, here I am ordered you around. You have them down free that we can talk. Yeah. Okay.
I totally get it. I feel 100%. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I did that. Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. You did it a little bit. I think they're doing this. Yes, I know. Yeah. Oh, they got it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The little ones probably, yeah, you know, they're little ones on the side. I'm 6 years old. Well, that's nice. That's better. Babies raise their, how do you know this right? Sure. Fortunately, that's what you can track. Yeah, I mean, the struggle I went through was the safety one. But the hardest thing I did, I would rather than. I get that. You were on. You wear your fuzzy pajamas. I didn't. And my husband was, used to be outside of pieces and go away to like crazy. I want to say that. No, that's never. Sorry. That they want to inherit. Yes. That's absolutely. I know. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we're having a lot of struggles. Is it Laura? It's called Laura, right? I see.
Good morning, Dr. Drop afternoon,
I don't feel like it's ever a show. Stretched as a little, so. Yes. Just because you make it. Because I think one has the, and the other one does the, NCCS. Power system. And I think I see it have. I think there's a lot of commercial. And then maybe goes in, each of us is doing ABC.
I'm trying to,
Yeah, no, I know. But I personal experience. It's not like it's been. Once a day. So, those I have. She does a lot of hard work, but she doesn't. She's a bit of a lot. She does a lot, she does a lot, she does a lot of work, it's all in my field. Yeah, but like I always have to. I mean, it's great. It's not costing. I think the younger. I'm just saying. I do that. If they get a house. They try this. She was Except for one, who will be so many years.
It is.
The medical.
Yeah. So oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm ready exactly for the last year. Just happened. This is providing schools come to this mission and go to your first meeting. And then all of a sudden, to not. What do you do? I mean, that's what we miss the system. If they choose not to, then you have to do the thing that they need. If you go down the way that you go, somebody won't be able to go, kick it all down the highway. Now, we're all saying that gets involved, and all of a sudden, man, you're all flat because it's just like, it's a flat, so it's a kid, and this all of a sudden. I think we do it now.
Oh.
Every day.
Joe and Andrew came this way by chance? In the back.
Back for maybe.
Yeah.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Chris, seconded by Mike to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next meeting, September the 11th, and potentially a special meeting between that. We're looking at security things with the buses. Security. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you, sir. Okay.